Social isolation kills. It's a major health problem that has not received enough attention. Health researchers report that social isolation is as bad for one's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The AARP Foundation recently reported that social isolation is a growing epidemic in America, affecting over 8 million older adults. Social isolation has been associated with poor health in many different studies. They include studies that looked at psychological distress, loneliness, cognitive impairment, poor self-rated health, neglect of desired health practices, an array of morbidity measures, and also mortality. Even the common cold has been associated with social isolation. There are various reasons given to why strong social ties are so important to health. These explanations can generally be assigned to one of three overall theories. One theory is that social ties provide essential support at times of illness, either helping one recover more quickly and more safely from an illness or to get medical attention more quickly. Essentially, this body of research argues that social ties are important because of the social support component. Another theory states that social ties are important because they encourage people to adhere to better health practices. It is argued that strong social ties help a person give up bad practices such as smoking or adopt good health practices such as better nutrition. A third theory looks at a possible causal link between social ties and the immune system. This theory includes extensive research examining how social ties may buffer the impact of stress. More recent attention has focused on identifying markers of accumulated stress and explicating possible mechanisms by which strong social ties might stimulate the immune system and thus help a person deal with the slings and arrows that one inevitably encounters over the life course. Therefore, it's most appropriate that campaigns are now being launched to address social isolation. For example, the American Academy of Social Work and Social Welfare announced in January of 2016 that eradicating social isolation was one of the 12 grand challenges for America to address over the next decade. In November of 2016, the AARP Foundation announced the Connect to Effect campaign to draw more attention to social isolation. So how can we address social isolation in social policy, clinical practice, and health research, and even in our own personal lives? Here are a few recommendations. In terms of policy, we need to develop communities that foster and support building strong social ties, as opposed to creating social barriers that might inhibit the development of ties. For example, the Age-Friendly Communities Initiative can add a strong social and community development component in addition to a focus on increasing accessibility through universal design specifications. Another important policy change would be for Medicare to start covering hearing aids in examinations. There's strong evidence that severe hearing loss contributes to social isolation. In terms of practice, it's high time that we develop geriatric protocols that include the assessment of social isolation as part of the protocol for geriatricians, geriatric nurses, social workers, and other health professionals. This is such an important health factor. Just as we check on people's weight, blood pressure, smoking, and so forth, we need to start screening for social isolation. Not only will this enable the identification of high-risk individuals for whom interventions might be developed, but it will also send a strong message to all patients that preventing social isolation is important to maintaining good health. In addition, we need to develop and test interventions designed to reduce the risk of social isolation. A critical question is how to nurture the development of strong social ties where they do not exist. In terms of research, it's essential that we seek to better understand how and why social ties are such a strong factor in people's health and well-being. Equally important is a need to foster more intervention research on social isolation. There are different causes of social isolation, so it's unlikely that any one approach is going to fit everybody. Thus, we'll need to tailor interventions depending on the etiology or the cause of the isolation. In the U.S., much attention has been given to financial planning for retirement. We've developed whole industries devoted to enhance the likelihood that one enters old age with a retirement nest egg of savings to provide financial security. However, it's just as important that one attend to building social capital. Many people come to grips with this as they start to shift away from child rearing, responsibilities, and busy careers. It is then that people often realize that they invested too little, too late in strengthening personal relationships. This happens in part because our society has promoted the myth of rugged individualism, which is actually counter to reality. Frankly, we all get through life with help from our family and friends who nurture us during critical points in our lives. When I've done work with the World Health Organization and with scholars in other countries, I find that there is more attention to social health outside the United States. I hope that campaigns to eradicate social isolation will elevate attention to social health in the U.S. A major goal of this presentation and my research has been to raise awareness about the seriousness of social isolation, to get us to consider social health to be just as important as mental health and physical health. The scientific evidence is convincing. Social ties are good for one's health. Paraphrasing the Beatles, we do indeed get by with more than a little help from our friends, our family, our neighbors, and others. Strong social relationships are essential for a good life. The consequences of neglecting this fact become especially apparent in old age.